I need to know, Rachel, before we start this podcast, are we still friends?
Oh, yeah, we're friends.
So you like the movie?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, you heard it here, folks. We're still friends. The podcast can continue. I guess we should say welcome back to the podcast, or if you're new here, my name's Hannah.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is the
You talking to
me? Podcast. Ooh. It's very off on my end. I don't know how to put it on your end.
Spicy is the only word I have for that intro. Okay.
Today we will be talking about how the Grinch Stole Christmas. You said it's called a live action?
It's the live action one, just because it's not animated. So,
right.
I will let Hannah do the 60-second, whatever amount of second kind of recap of what happens in the movie, because most people have seen it. It's pretty much just me. So we're not going to bore you with a very long, detailed minute by minute what happens in the movie, because I literally think since it came out 20 years ago, I am the only human on earth who has not seen this movie.
Okay, if you have not seen How the Grinch Stole Christmas, it is a story about a place called Whoville. In Whoville, there are Whos, and this is actually something I learned after watching this, I don't know how many times, like 20 plus times. It takes place inside of a snowflake.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that either, but then I thought back to it, and Horton Hears a Who.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, Horton Hears a Who takes place on a
Horton Hears a Who.
That makes sense.
Yes, it's a Dr. Seuss thing, I guess.
We're just idiots.
But that blew my mind. The only reason I figured that out was because I had subtitles on, and I was like, this takes place inside a snowflake. And I was like, wait, what?
Oh, real quick, fun fact, real quick from the beginning. That opening sequence where, you can see all the trees and stuff, that is, 40,000 electrical-powered trees right there.
Yeah, so the story is, like I said, it's in Whoville, and it's these people called Whos, and they love Christmas, but what they really love is presents, and they go crazy. They're buying presents, and then that's just really what they care about is sales and presents, and that's what they associate Christmas with. And there's a little girl named Cindy Lou who she is interested in the Grinch, and the Grinch is this, they never say if he's a person or what he is.
Yeah. Well, real quick, Cindy Lou Who is not feeling Christmas this year. She's unsure. She doesn't know what she thinks the meaning of Christmas is, and is not really buying the whole presents is what Christmas is. She feels like it's something deeper to her.
She's saying no to consumerism. In her song, she says something along the lines of, did Christmas change or is it just me?
Mm-hmm.
And so she's interested in this person, monster thing, whatever it is, the Grinch. He's the green person. I mean, everyone has to know who the Grinch is, right? So the Grinch is this person who is grumpy, does not like Christmas. He lives up in a place called Mount Crumpet all by himself, except for he has a dog named Max. And she wants to get the Grinch to come down to their Whoville celebration.
Jubilation?
Yeah, Jubilation.
I'm just saying, Jubilee was right there. That pun was right there.
It's basically their big festival for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes down, and he kind of gets flashback to trauma from when he was younger and in school. The bully for him was the current mayor now.
Yeah.
And he had a crush on Martha May Whovier, and I think
was the mayor's girlfriend at the time, or crush at the time, and basically he was humiliated in front of everybody for trying to pursue her because everyone else thought he was a freak.
Yes, and because the mayor, I can't remember his name.
Augustus?
Yeah, Augustus something. He, when they were younger, he's like, "You will never get her. You're 8 years old and you have a beard." So the Grinch tried to shave and then he cut his face, and the whole class makes fun of him. And so then now it's like flash forward, he's still scarred by this, and they're at this celebration, and because he won some award
The
called the
Cheermeister Award. He was nominated by Cindy Lou Who, and nobody. The mayor was like, he's not even going to show up, and when he doesn't, I'll take the award. Like, no big deal.
Right, and then the mayor actually gives him a razor as a gift, which
Yeah,
was
when the
sweet.
Grinch does show up, he does get that, and it brings back a lot of PTSD for him.
Yeah, bad memory. So the Grinch goes back to hiding, and then he decides he's going to steal Christmas, and he goes to all the houses and steals all the presents, all the trees, and then he's expecting the Who's to just be like sad and crying, but then he hears them singing, and then he has this sleigh full of presents and things in it, and he's like, "Oh well, it's okay if it accidentally falls off this mountain." But then Cindy Lou Who pops up and she's like, "The Grinch, Grinch."
Yeah.
She's like, "No
Yeah,
one should be alone on Christmas."
which is so sweet. Aw, I
And
love
then so he's like, "Oh," and he like saves this sleigh from falling off the edge of the mountain, and then he goes down and helps celebrate the Christmas thing. Christmas, I guess, because it's Christmas Day. And then they
it.
have a feast, and he ends up, well, spoiler, he ends up getting Martha May. Jumping into, I want to say one of my favorite parts of the whole movie is at the ending when they're doing the singing and they're all like, like I don't remember the words of their Who song,
Yeah.
but the Grinch just sings like "Honey, honey, honey."
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was like, that actually is quite funny because that is all of us trying to sing along to this song.
True, because they have their own sort of language in Whoville, and I also found out for the first time ever that the Who's all have 12 toes. It said so, and I only knew that because I had, once again, the subtitles on, so I was reading and it was like, and all on their 12 toes, and I was like, huh,
Ew.
never knew that before.
Yeah, this is quite an interesting movie from like in a live action perspective because like it's real easy to do animated
Oh yeah,
because they don't have to look human. You know, you can draw whatever you want. And the world is so easy for an animated movie, which they've
right.
made a couple of actually. They have like their one came out in 2018 apparently with Benedict Cumberbatch as the Grinch. And he actually wouldn't do a British accent for the Grinch because that's like not what people remember as the Grinch sounding like, which I was
I
like,
don't know who that is actually, so
Benedict Cumberbatch is Doctor Strange.
that didn't help me.
He was in
Google.
the Theory of Everything.
That also did not help me.
I've only
I'm
seen one of
Googling
those
him.
two movies, so
And
I'm just off the top of my head. Oh, he was Sherlock Holmes in one of the Sherlock Holmes things.
yeah, I have no clue who this guy is. I'm looking at
Really?
pictures of
Oh,
him.
he's British and he's very famous, and
He looks
he has a
British.
weird look to him.
Mm-hmm. He
But
looks like a
for
snake.
some people, that's very hot. That is
Mm.
their version of hot right there.
Well,
But he is British originally, and they said that he could do a British accent for it, but he was like, no, the Grinch is an American. I was like, okay, the Grinch is
actually, he's a
lives on
who.
a snowflake, but okay.
Yeah. Like, who knows where he is? But
Honestly,
then that got me thinking, have you ever thought about the fact that our world could be like that?
that is quite weird. I mean, it makes me feel like Whoville is like pre Big Bang, you know, when everything's just real small and tight and compact, and there's a whole world on it.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Because, like, what if someone destroys that snowflake? Does Whoville just, like, separate, like, in the Big Bang theory?
No clue. One thing that you wouldn't know is
Okay.
that I was on a gymnastics team in high school. And one of my teammates, I'm going to call her Leaf.
Okay.
I have a plant next to me. I'm real creative over here.
All right, Leaf the girl.
Yep, Leaf the girl. She had a cousin. That cousin was Cindy Lou Who. Mm-hmm.
Like in real life? Like the
Yep.
girl Taylor Momsen or whatever her name is?
Yep. I was on the gymnastics team with her cousin. Named
Okay,
Leaf.
really quick. Okay, one, she sucked at singing in that movie. Like, she was all over the place in that. Like, it was cute as heck because she's a child, but her
Right.
pitch was all over the place. And when I looked up who this girl was, I was like, who is this? Because I saw a different actress that looked just like her. She was a lead singer in some band.
Yep, she has a band and she also was in Gossip Girl.
I was like, oh, there's the pitch. Oh, no, we lost it. Oh, there it goes.
Well, everyone has their own taste, and I mean, there are vocal coaches for a reason. Maybe she got training.
Yeah, you're right. And plus, she was a kid, so maybe she was supposed to not sing well in there. Who knows?
Right, or like
cute.
sometimes kids that sing well will get like jobs or whatever deals, and then when they're older, they can't sing. Or maybe she was the exact opposite and was like real pitchy when she was younger, and then she hit puberty, and everyone's like, "Whoa, who's that? She can sing, girl."
Yeah, I feel like kids who sing through puberty, though, like either are in choir, have like professional training, especially boys, like end up still being able to sing well, just not maybe necessarily the same pitches and stuff, unless they had like hardcore training to like get there, you know.
Right.
Sometimes though they gain like a bunch of octaves, like lower, especially because their voice just gets lower and deeper.
Which is actually funny because a lot of times women too will end up being able to sing less high. Well, it depends too. It's like the hormone thing. And then I was on birth control, but I was in voice lessons. And as soon as I got put on birth control, obviously your hormones change. And I could not hit the same high notes anymore. And then now that I'm not on it anymore, like if I try to sing, I'm like, wow, that high note is not hard anymore.
That's so weird because it like lowers your estrogen, you mean?
Yeah.
I never even thought about that. That's probably why I'm a bad singer.
Yes, that's exactly why. Another fun fact that I always liked was that, well, one of my favorite things in the movie was the bottles, when he would eat the bottles. The Grinch eats bottles.
Yeah.
And I always obviously thought it was real glass when I was little, but it's actually made out of sugar.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was on TikTok actually, as I do be on TikTok. And this one girl was like, it was a original TikTok stitched with Hank Green responding to the original TikTok, and she was like, is it just me or did that glass like look real good in the Grinch when he was eating it? And then Hank Green pops in, he's like, don't eat glass, kids, don't eat glass. And it's so funny. And I was like, I honestly have no idea what that is. And then I saw it and I was like, that looks real.
And then he gets like some stuck in his throat and he sticks his fingers like, oh.
Oh my gosh, his costume is wild. Jim Carrey's. Because it's like hard to tell in some places that it's a costume, like it looks like it's him, and it's because it was made out of spandex. And yak hair was tied, like sewn to it.
That must have been hot. And I kept thinking about the face makeup too, like, did his face just get like hella acne on it because he's in this thing all day long?
I don't know. The first time that they did it, it took like over 8 hours to put the makeup on. And then on average after that, it only took like 3 hours. But he had to go through special training from the CIA because it felt like he was being buried alive when they would put it on. No joke. He had to get like torture training before so that he could be calm and be fine with it on.
Ugh. And then the way he acts, like, that's the most iconic. Like, how can you even act? I would be embarrassed if you know that there's people watching you, you know, and you just have to commit to being like, like, okay, I am that type of personality, but I feel like it's different if it's in a professional setting. And, you know, making a movie that is your job, so you know that you're supposed to be acting this way. But, I mean, he commits.
Well, and the worst part for me would be, like, honestly, obviously he's a professional. He acts like this in almost every movie. Like, that's just how he is.
Mhm.
But everyone else is like the straight man, which means like they aren't comical themselves. So
Mhm.
anyone he's around either is scared of him or is Cindy Lou Who, and she's just like doesn't respond. And I would need somebody to laugh at me if I was acting like that to know that I'm being funny. Because
Right.
what if I wasn't funny and I was just looking stupid
Yeah, and I think that'd
forever?
be really hard if everyone had to be so serious, or also if you're the director and you can't be laughing because he is funny. And
Mm-hmm.
then I also want to know literally how long did it take to do everyone's hair and makeup?
Yeah, they actually won. They won an Oscar for best makeup in the movie, which thank God, because they deserved it out of everyone. Also, they beat the world record for like most makeup used in a movie, and the last movie that was holding the record was The Wizard of Oz in like the 30s.
Because of all the
The
Tin
Oompa
Man.
Loompas and the lion and all of those crazy characters.
I wonder if you can Google how much was the budget for the live action
Oh, they
Grinch.
for sure would have the budget listed.
The top thing it wanted me to look up was for Mulan. Guess guess how much money?
600 million.
Oh, this is the budget though. They're only giving me the budget for the Grinch that came out in 2018, which was $75 million for
An animated one.
an animated. Holy. How much did the
Look
Grinch?
up look up the Grinch 2000.
123 million. So what I want to know is how was the animated one, which I mean, obviously I don't really know everything that goes into animating a movie. I know that that's a lot of detailed work, but how could
Yeah.
that only cost 48 million less than this live action one with all the hair and makeup?
I think it's just probably like the quality of the animation. I mean,
Because
I
there
don't
was
know.
animation in The Grinch also, and this was 123 million dollars, and it got from the box office it received 345.1 million.
Yeah, so it was not a hit right away. But people love it now. I was like just very impressed with all the Who's like in the background and how crazy like they were and stuff. It They went to Who school
To like figure out how to
to
act
learn
like
how
that.
to be a Who and act properly like in the background. They literally had to go to training before they were allowed to be an extra in the movie.
Sorry, I was looking at these other facts on here, and it says that Jim Carrey spent a total of 92 days in Grinch
Mhm.
makeup, and he almost quit because the makeup was so excruciating.
Yeah, that's why he had to go through training. Like they said that the Bee Gees were very good at calming him down, the Bee Gee music.
I mean, to give it to that man. I wonder how much money he made
I
for the movie.
wonder. Well, I was thinking about it as I was watching the movie. So like his nose is completely like covered up.
Yeah, like
So
how he breathe.
I'm pretty sure, I mean, they do this for most movies anyway, like almost every single one. But the post production, like, he must have just had to do all of the dubbing, like, afterward. Because
Mhm.
there's no way his voice would sound like that if he, like, couldn't breathe. He probably was just, like, doing the actions and stuff and, like, kind of saying his lines. But there's no way that he sounded like that with the Grinch makeup on.
Well, but his mouth was fully open, so maybe he just like learned to breathe from his mouth.
They have to dub for every movie, like, anyway.
Well, see, this makes me wonder now. I wonder what, do you have any clue what movie to this date has had the largest budget? I feel like it's Avatar. I
I
could
think
be,
it's Avatar as well.
oh, that sounded like a fart. It was my phone on my computer.
Short was. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a good thing they didn't
Hmm.
spend more money on this movie because it obviously didn't make that much.
This surprised me. I feel like this could be wrong.
What is it?
It says Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides officially holds the record with a budget of 378.5 million. And the
Interesting.
second was the Hobbit trilogy. There's no way Avatar wasn't more expensive because it says that for marketing and promotion alone was 150 million. And I feel like if you spend that much on marketing, there's no way that the movie didn't cost more than 378 million.
Yeah. I wonder if they're just not including the marketing.
Oh, here's a different one. It says that Avengers was. Yeah, I
Oh,
don't
that
know.
makes
If they
sense to
don't
me.
include marketing, Avengers apparently is Avengers Endgame because that was 400 million.
That makes sense because one, all the actors are very expensive. And two, like, there's a lot of special effects.
What I want to know is like how much do even just like the extras get paid? Like if I were to go on this set, how many days, if I'm in this 5-second clip, am I actually on set for like 2 weeks time? Like that's how much you need me? And am I just sitting there doing nothing and getting paid to eat your craft service things?
I think you're probably in the background of more shots or in like crowd shots, like overhead. Some in like a movie such as like, so I know a girl that was an extra in the Hannah Montana movie. Um, and I'm pretty sure she got paid nothing. They just were like, who wants to come stand in a crowd? You get like free food or something, right? And it was like for the concert, they just needed like an overhead shot of a lot of people. But in the Whoville one, I mean, you had to be there quite a long time to get the makeup, to get the training. So even if you're only on camera that you can see yourself, like maybe in that opening scene where everyone's buying the presents, maybe you're on the screen for like 2.3 seconds, right? But you're probably also in the background at the jubilation and also probably like in the streets when the Grinch comes down the first time and is like pranking people. So you're probably not visible a whole lot, but you're there to give the illusion that it's very full.
Right.
So it's probably however long the Who training was, and you most likely got paid for that because I'm pretty sure they got like actual actors. You got paid for like how many times they needed you on set for like the big set pieces, and that was probably spread out throughout the like couple of months that they did this. So
Right.
in this movie, I would find it hard to believe that you weren't paid. And so extras do cost a lot of money though in any movie apparently, if you need them like to be standing in the store while your character's shopping, you know, that kind of stuff they do pay you for. But if it's just a crowd shot, they usually can get away with just being like, come and we'll give you food all day. Yay.
Yay.
Congratulations. Have you ever been an extra on anything? I've always wanted to be.
I don't think I've been an extra, but I've been in a few commercials. Well, for anyone that's from around where Rachel and I are from, there's a place called Thief River Falls. They have a Seven Clans casino. I was at the water park there, and they chose me to be in their commercial. And I was in some friends, they owned a gas station. I was in a few of those commercials. And then I also was chosen to be in a fashion show. Mary Kate and Ashley clothing I modeled.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize my friend was so famous. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
That was
Wow.
all when I was little and cute though.
Yeah, I have not been. I was an extra in a friend's short film like that they actually, I don't know if they submitted it anywhere, but they made. And it was fun.
Oh, technically I've been an extra on a TV show called Girl Meets Farm. Or
Oh,
Holly
yeah?
Gay. Yeah, because
On the Food
it
Network.
was last year that one aired. It was called Holly Dazzle, like a Christmas special, and I was one of the onlookers watching the parade, and I walked in front of a camera to help with the whatever that's for. I
To
don't know.
look like, it's natural and there's depth and make it look good. Wow. Jeez, I'll have to go watch that episode. Look for you.
I don't know if the walking part went through, but definitely the part where we were watching the parade, and I really truly was watching the parade, and
So like you didn't even have to act, you were just a natural.
yeah, I was.
All those years of training came to good use.
Yeah.
I so desperately want to be an extra. I don't know why. I just think it'd be fun to like be watching, I don't even know, like Forrest Gump and be like, that's me every time. I'd be like,
I
be
want to be
jealous.
in a movie, like, or something. When you write a movie someday, I'm gonna be in a movie. I don't care.
Yeah. When I write a TV show, I'm going to be like, I wrote this for this girl, Hannah. You don't know her yet, but she's a big star. She
Big
was an
star.
extra in Girl Meets Farm once. So
One
you
time.
know her. You know her. You'll recognize the face when you see her because it was like a big deal. Remember the girl that was watching the parade and like was totally immersed in it? Yeah, she's a method actor. She's real good.
She's good.
She's great.
That's always like since I was little, I think that was always something I wanted to do was be in a movie or a TV show.
Yeah. I think that
Yeah.
would be so fun. I wanted to too, but I recognize that I am not a good actor. I think I could figure out how to be a good voice actor, but I've gotten better at it because we have to read each other's scripts in class. And so I've gotten a lot of parts, often the main part, because look at me, I'm just like born for these roles. Uh,
Obviously.
I have gotten better at like sounding like I'm not ridiculously acting, you know? I'm not like the, what? What do you mean anymore? Which is nice. It's more natural, but
You're better at reacting versus acting, I suppose.
yeah, I would say that. I don't know. We were in
That's
an acting class together. You tell me how I was.
I didn't think you were bad. I mean, we did scenes together.
Okay.
Honestly, I can't remember what your monologue was. I can
It was
still
the
remember.
Namaste bitch one.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
And yours was like, my name is Hannah.
Well, her name was Hannah, but
That
also,
was literally the one reason you picked it. I remember being at the library with you.
yeah, we were in the library, and I was like, "Oh, her name's Hannah. Let's choose that one." But it was that bargaining one about the girl who's like alive forever.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't she like from the future or something? But yeah,
So from the past,
she's from the
actually.
past and she's
She's
can
like,
live
I've
forever.
been 23 since the year 1954. I remember that because I thought at that time, I was like, wow, 23 is so old. And then I was like, 1954 is the year my mom's born. And I'm like, I'm 24.
I know, isn't it weird? Like when I'm younger and I'm like, let's say when I was in seventh grade, I felt very old for my age.
Hmm.
But then now looking back at seventh graders, I'm like, you are but a baby.
Yeah, an
And then
infant.
and now as a 24-year-old, I feel very young. But when I was young and looking up at 24-year-olds, I was like, they have their life together. They're like a camp counselor at my church. They totally know what's up. You know,
Yeah,
whereas like I've been a camp counselor for like kids and I'm like, I don't know what's going on ever.
yeah, I'm like, what? This is adulting? Okay. Or like when I was teaching preschoolers, we'd say, oh, what's your dream job? Or what do you want to be when you grow up? And they were all saying something, and I would say something, and they're like, but you are grown up. I'm like, I am not. That's rude.
Oh my gosh, one time, okay, this is my roommate's favorite thing that I've ever told him about my job as a summer camp counselor. Um, so I worked with preschoolers, which Hannah and I are the complete opposite when it comes to this. I hate small children. I would
I
prefer the
love
like seventh graders rather than the preschoolers because one, I usually don't have to watch them as much, and two, they do understand when I say to do something.
Yeah, but they have
Whereas
attitudes. Ugh.
that's true, but I feel more comfortable giving them attitude back and not having them like cry about it. So there's that. But anyway, this one girl who she always has something funny to say. She was like, "Yeah, my dad had to go to work today." I was like, "Oh, you know, what's his job?" And she goes, "Uh, work." I was go, "Oh, sorry, same." Oh my gosh, wasn't that machine that put the Christmas lights in the Grinch movie? Going back to the Grinch, which is what this podcast is about. Wasn't that like
Looping
the
back here.
coolest thing you've like literally ever seen in your whole
Yes, I
life?
love it, and I love Martha May when she's like, "Grr, grr, grr, grr." She had the very sexy costume on.
Oh my gosh, and when the Grinch like landed in her boobs, I was like, this is only rated PG.
I was waiting for you to have a comment about that. And the other line that I thought is above PG, but it's literally one of my favorites, is when they're going down the mountain and the Grinch falls down onto Cindy Lou, who they're on the sleigh. The sleigh is going down with all the presents. They're going down to Whoville. The Grinch falls off the top of the bag, lands almost on top of Cindy, and she's like, Grinch, are you okay? Or something like that. And he goes, are you kidding? The sun is bright and the powder's bitching.
I didn't even hear that. Oh my gosh. I was also like cooking food, so maybe that's the part that like I totally missed, but that's hilarious.
Always.
Oh, he improvised the line, you know, when he's like going through his schedule and he's like 4:00 self-loathing or whatever. The 6:00 dinner with me can't cancel that again or whatever. That was improvised apparently.
I like that.
It was very funny. That was like the best line too.
Actually, I'm sorry, but his very best line.
I meant in that section.
Okay, the very, very, very best line and thing that happens in the movie, it's just, I'm an idiot. You're an idiot. And then he goes, I'm just gonna whisper real quietly so you can't, and whatever he says whispering.
So
and
when
then
it finally reverberates, I won't be able to hear it.
Yeah, and then it's, you're an idiot.
That was so funny. I knew it was coming, but it was so funny anyway. Because I like wasn't completely aware of like how it was gonna work out. But I laughed very hard at that part. That was right after the
also talk about how the Grinch definitely has two moms?
Yes, Stan, Rosie, right? Isn't it like Rose or something? And some other chick. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Loved it. We stan the LGBTs pluses.
And the other funny line in the movie is, so they're talking about how the babies come like a stork sort of, only they come in these things that look like umbrellas, but they have a who name for them.
Yeah, I don't even remember it. I don't remember any of the funky words that they're like given things.
Yeah, it sounds like umbrella, but with like extra
umbrella steins or something silly.
And
Stumbrellas.
Yeah, and the one baby shows up at this house and the guy goes out, he's like, honey, our baby's here. Huh, he looks like your boss.
That was the funniest thing. That's one of my, I think that was my favorite line of the whole movie, was it looks just like your boss.
And I like when Cindy is in the mail sorting room, or I like when he's in the mail sorting room actually, and he's like mixing up the mail. He's like, this will take them years to figure out, and then he's like flinging envelopes at
it's like jury duty.
Like, jury duty, eviction notice, jury duty.
I am just saying, I would love jury duty. I have tried to get it. So you get jury duty by voting, basically. That's how they get like your name. And
isn't it by paying taxes?
I think you also have to do that, but I think they give it to people who vote. I don't know, maybe that's wrong, but I voted in every single election except for one, because I was here and there was only one thing on the ballot back in North Dakota, and I was like, okay, it's not worth it for them to mail it to me. But right before I moved, so I got one in like February, I got a letter and it was like, you have jury duty. And I was like, yes, but it was the week that I was going to be out of town. Like it started like in the middle of spring break and I was already just not even going to be there. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to be in town. Can we reschedule it? And they're like, yeah, for sure. And so I was like waiting because I left in August of that year to go to Savannah. Mm-hmm. And I was like waiting, and finally I got one like in the middle of July, and it was like, it starts August 8th. And I was like, I literally leave August 16th. With my luck, it's going to be a murder trial that's going to be like a year long, and I'm going to like miss school or something. So I was like, I can't take it. So now hopefully wherever I move after this, you know, and I start voting and paying taxes and like being a resident of that state, hopefully I'll get jury duty there, because I just want it. It's not gonna like be interesting. I know it's gonna be like some freaking tax thing, or I'm not even gonna get picked once I get down there, but I want it so badly. I'm the one and only person who wants jury duty in this whole world, I think.
Yeah, I got like the jury duty thing where you go in and they have to like question you and blah, blah, blah. and I was chosen for that part. And then I couldn't, like, I was like, well, I really am the only person that can bring my sister-in-law to the airport tomorrow, because everyone else has to work. So like I really truly am the only one. And they're like, okay, so I didn't get chosen, which I got lucky because the other person, there was another lady who had the same thing happening and she got chosen. And I was like, dude, I'm sorry for you because you're in the same situation as I am, but
I wonder if there was something else that just like set you apart. Like, do you know what the trial was about, kind of?
yeah, it was, I think that they were like seeing if you could be unbiased, and my face was probably like thinking about it because they're like, this man was accused of stabbing someone at a Walmart. And then they were talking about it, and I like had remembered it being on the news, sort of, and I was like, I don't want to be near someone who stabs
That would
someone.
be an awesome trial to be on. Oh my god. That would have been awesome,
I was like,
though.
guilty.
Sorry, sir, but it said on the news that you stabbed someone.
So you did.
So, yeah, that means you're guilty. The news said so for now. That could have been me.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I think my dad was on jury duty once and he loved it. And I think it was something about someone, I don't even know, like, who had like broken their workman's comp or something. You know, like they were claiming a disability and needed more workman's comp or something, or disability pay or something like that. And
Right.
they were on trial for that. And he said it wasn't particularly interesting, but he really enjoyed it because he was out for like a whole week of work.
I had to skip a day of work because I was working in my
But
downtown
legally, they
office
have
job.
to let you off of work, which I love.
And the way that it worked out though is like I missed more than, like, lunch was called really late that day. So I got to leave at lunch, but lunch was over like a half day's worth of work at my job, and they
Yeah.
just were like, you gotta just be gone for, like, whatever. But then what I got paid was like a half day's pay from the jury duty thing, and it was less money than I would have made in a half day's work at my office job, but I had a
Oh, yeah.
full day of my job. And I was like, they should pay people better if they're coming to these things, because if you are literally like, what if, lucky for me, like I wasn't relying on that money. Did you ever do a jury, like a mock jury in high school, middle school?
In middle school, we did, but I think I was just a bystander. I went to an actual trial that didn't have a jury, though, but I went to an actual trial for one of the valve turners for the oil pipeline. Do you remember those guys got in trouble for turning off the pipeline up in Pembina County at all? They wanted to build a new pipeline, and it goes
I remember
through
that.
like a Native American either burial site or sacred land, and people
Yes.
were protesting that, the DAPL. And then also in a form of protest was this guy, someone drove him up there and he turned off the valve in North Dakota. There were other people in other states, like there was one in Washington, I think, and then someone else somewhere else. They all turned them off like at the same time, which obviously lost a bunch of money and stuff like that. And that's a main reason why there was a trial about it. But I went to
Right.
that, and that was like very interesting. I was dog tired though, and like falling asleep the whole time, because I slept in a room that had like, they have automatic heaters where like it was a very small hotel, so they just had the heat on, so I couldn't like adjust it, and it was constant. It wasn't like auto where it would turn on and off like when the heat would rise and fall. So it was like 2 million degrees in the room. The bedding just felt itchy to me because I was so hot. I had to, thank God I had brought a blanket so I could like put it on the thing and like sleep on it. I was just uncomfortable. I probably slept 3 hours that whole night. And I had to go get the guys so I was working, it was for a documentary company or whatever. So I was working for them. I had to go get them coffee, but because I was so nervous about getting it right, I forgot to order myself anything. And so I just didn't have any caffeine, any nothing. I don't drink caffeine really anymore anyway, which is fine, but I also get more than 3 hours of sleep and then before I work a full day. We went back to the coffee shop afterward because the guys liked the food and coffee so much. And so we went back and I ordered myself a cappuccino. That was the first time I have ever felt caffeine work for me. I like was drinking it and all of a sudden I was like a new person. It was like slowly, I could feel myself getting less tired. It was the weirdest experience ever.
That used to be the story of my life, and then I would consume too much caffeine, and then I would get jittery, and then I was to the point where caffeine had no effect on me, and I could drink an entire pot of coffee. Nothing would happen. One time I ate an entire bag of chocolate-covered espresso beans, and I literally had nothing happen. And now if I have like a sip of coffee, I'm like, oh god, my heart rate's up. I'm so jittery.
So
We got a little off topic.
it was a good movie. I really enjoyed it.
Good.
I liked The Grinch.
I think it's so good, and I really think Jim Carrey was like so good for that, and I give him mad props for acting like that and being in that deep of makeup and having to commit that. Like, I just don't even know how he did it.
Well, apparently Eddie Murphy and was it Jack Nicholson? They were both were like the possible people for the Grinch.
And then they did a makeup test and they're like, heck no.
I don't know how they picked it, but they went with Jim Carrey, which I think probably the right decision. Who knows? Maybe I would think it was also the right decision if it was the other two, if I watched it.
Right.
But who knows? My only complaint about The Grinch is that it felt very long.
It does feel like a long movie. I feel like, obviously, if we can do a recap in like 60 seconds, which I guess a lot of movies maybe you could, but some movies like, you know, it's going to take like 2 to 3 minutes at least to explain it. I think that the storyline's so simple, and so maybe like if you had seen it when you were younger first, it seems a little shorter just because it is in a way that young kids will understand it.
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely think there could have been like certain scenes that were cut maybe, or like things that didn't necessarily add value to it.
Yeah, I think it could have been a like short feature, like 80 minutes, 70 minutes or something, you know.
I mean, it wasn't much over
it was like an hour 45, I think.
But if you cut off subtitles, it's like an hour 40, I think. So I guess that's still...
So, but it felt a lot longer than it was, I think. And I wonder if it's just because of how goofy of a movie it is and how immersed you have to be in this world and you have to like be committed. Yeah. And I think that's the problem. That was like the problem that I had with the length or whatever, is that it's like such a different world. It's so goofy that that's why it felt longer than it was. But that's not a huge complaint because I enjoyed it and I thought it was funny throughout. So I liked it regardless. That was just my only negative thing to it.
Yeah, I agree that there could be some shortening to it. But I guess, you know, if you think about Frozen or even Frozen 2, once again, overall, like, the movies are great, but I do think there are parts that you could cut out to make it shorter.
And they're just not as silly. Like, they're serious movies that have comedy in it. I think that's just with all really goofy movies, that's, like, gonna be an issue. Like Mr. Bean's Holiday. I rewatched part of it, and it is super long, it feels like. And it's not 2 hours. Yeah, that movie should be, like, 20 minutes. That would be a good... Yeah. So funny, but like, yeah, I agree. But it's so much of it. It's like, just, it gets tiring. Right. Or just like if you're watching, I'm trying to think what movie. Well, anything that's really sad, you know, the very opposite of very humorous movies. If you have a very sad or depressing movie, you don't want it to be 2-3 hours long. Like, cut it down. Yeah, and I think they could have had a couple more serious scenes in the movie, but that's not the world of Whoville, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, in terms of, like, a normal movie like Mr. Bean's Holiday, where it's not, like, a crazy world that it takes place in, it's just a crazy character. I think if you balance the really goofiness with, like, nice, even-keeled, like, serious scenes, that brings you back to being like, okay, well, I care about these people, so I'll stay committed to this movie. And there were those moments, you know, like when Cindy Lou Who was like, well, don't forget about the Grinch, to the Grinch dressed as Santa. And he was like serious, and then he's like, aw, sweet girl. Poor judge of character. Like, there are those sweet moments, like, throughout it, especially at the very end and stuff. So it was worth it, and it was a good movie. I just think that could have been a thing that made it, I don't know, not feel so crazy and long. But who knows? Yeah. I guess it made its money. People love it, so who cares? Like, who cares what I have to say?
True. That's just our opinions on it. And people, we definitely had more of a diverse topic today in our podcast. Tell us if you like that. Do you like when we bring in more personal things and aren't strictly talking about a movie? Do you like it when it's just like straight facts about the movie and we're just totally immersed in the plot and things we found out? Do you have anything else to say about this podcast to our listeners?
Follow us and leave us some comments, suggestions, some likes, whatever you want, bros.
5 stars, baby.
Yeah, give us some love. Like, that's all we want. You can give us critiques too. Like, we also want that, but we like love more.
Just be nice. Constructive criticism, please.
Our little hearts can't take it. We're just wee baby 24-year-olds.
Yeah, we're millennials.
We're just children.
We know that we're sensitive.
Yeah, we do cry.
We're basically in the generation called snowflake, and if that doesn't actually describe being sensitive, I don't know what does.
Also, this movie took place in a snowflake, and it was watched by 2 snowflakes, so who's more fit to talk about this movie for 10 minutes and then about everything else for the other 50?
Exactly.
Well, with that being said, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Hannah.
And this was the You Talking to Me podcast.